Financial Matters.
19 minutes after 8 o'clock, and my guest is a Senior Financial Manager at Nedbank, Senior Financial Education Manager at Nedbank, and his name is Thapelo Tsiu. Thapelo, thank you so much for joining me once again. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Aubrey, and thank you so much to the listeners.
Have you had time to think about the conversation we had last week?
I actually have, especially the caller. I think it was Willem, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
And he spoke about the resourcefulness of the side hustle mindset. Yeah, no, that really got me thinking. And with all the sessions that we run, financial education sessions, whenever we touch on this topic of side hustles, you then ask a question, so why aren't you starting one? Some answers that we get would be, look, I am scared of selling, I'm scared of, going out there and actually selling something. Some of them would be an issue of self-esteem, some of them would be discipline, all of those things.
And what will people say?
And what will people say when I start this, when I start approaching them and say, look, this is what I'm doing? So there are those things that make people to not have that. The only challenge is where one is not able to actually measure the agency of them having an additional income compared to all these challenges that they're having. So find out that things in their personal spaces and the demands are great, so great, but it's sort of the fear outweighs the decision to start. Yeah.
Give me a call and tell me why you're afraid, why you're not starting some sort of side hustle. Yeah. I think it'd be a very, very interesting conversation, given the economic realities we face at the moment.
Yes.
That formal sort of jobs are no longer enough.
Yeah, no,
even for those of us who have some sort of a formal job, it just makes sense for us to be looking to do something on the side, right? So I'm interested to hear, what are you doing if you've got a side hustle? But if you're thinking about one and you perhaps know that you want to start one, what's stopping you? I'm interested to hear from you on 011-883-0702. But tonight we are talking about real side hustlers. And I know that you've got a guest that we're going to be speaking to in a few moments' time. What is the first thing that we need to start thinking about as we start this conversation? Yes.
Oh, okay. So I think, to be honest, most important thing is, first of all, you just need to first understand what you're good at. I think first and foremost, the most simplest thing is for you to look at what is it that you can do, what is it that you have got no control over, what you can't do. So just because we're talking side hustles, now you are not... You don't have to now think out of your way to find out what. It's all about really knowing yourself first and foremost. Yeah. So that's really what I can say.
Yeah. And really, in your experience, Thapelo, what are people starting? I mean, is it usually where people are selling a product, or is it services? What sort of side hustles are you seeing in the main that people are starting?
Yes, so the most side hustles I've seen, and I think with the clients I've had in my role as a banker, would be people that are selling products. It could be maybe selling hair products, could be where you sell, the containers for lunch boxes.
Tupperware.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned it. Yeah, so those those are the ones, and some products that they sell. So that's what I've seen. And then in certain instances, I have had clients who have had their own, maybe somebody just decided to buy a hair cutting machine and then starts to cut hair for people, within his area. So some of those I've seen, and also some I've read of. It's where people can also start like your personal training if you are, take care of your body.
Into physical fitness.
Yes. When I combine all of that, it's where people have sought ideas that really require a little capital or no capital. So that's really what I've actually observed and see most people do. Yeah.
I'd love to take your calls if you do have a side hustle. And by the way, it doesn't have to be within those specific market segments, services and goods. Maybe you're in a side hustle that is a little more sophisticated. I don't know. Maybe you're somebody involved in the IT industry. As a side hustle. Maybe you're somebody that is doing some entertainment stuff as a side hustle. I'd really love to hear from you as far as that is concerned, as I speak to my guest, senior manager at Nedbank's Financial Education team, Thapelo Tsiu. I know that our guest is already on standby, but I see Ngo is on the line to give us some sort of sense as to why he believes people are not involved in side hustles these days. Ngo, good evening to you. Your thoughts?
Hi, so how are you?
I'm very well, thanks, man. Go ahead. What's on your mind?
No, I think the conversation should also be with corporate South Africa. And there's a lot of corporate policies prevent people from engaging in side hustles. You find organizations where it's strictly prohibited for one to engage in side hustles. So it's not just a conversation that must be targeted or aimed at individuals. We need to have a conversation with corporates.
Yeah. Do you feel that the conversation is aimed specifically at individuals?
Yeah, the conversation is always around individuals, but the policy conversation needs to happen with corporates, and not just corporates. I mean, you find in the public sector space, people are prevented from having side hustles, or they need to declare, and once they've declared, that information or those declarations are not well received.
Yeah. When you say well received, you mean people are discouraged from continuing with those?
You find policy within the private sector discourages people from engaging in side hustles because of the fear that it might take them away.
Give me an example, Ngo. I think it's a very, very important thing that you're raising here.
No, you get to a number of corporates or a number of companies, and one of the documents that one would sign is a document that states clearly that you are not allowed to either engage in side hustles or engage in side hustles that will be in conflict with what you are doing. And sometimes it might not be a matter of conflict at all. It's just that the company has its own fears or limitations. And you get into the public sector space where public sector employees are prevented by clear policies that say you're not allowed to engage in side hustles or get extra income beyond what you are earning at work.
In Johannesburg, I think that's a very, very critical point that Ngo is raising there. Do you find that in certain corporate organizations, people are explicitly prohibited from having a side hustle?
Yes.
I can understand if it is going to, interfere with your operations in your formal duties, right? I can understand that. I can understand if your side hustle is somehow going to piggyback on the resources of the company that you are working for. I get that. Yeah. But do you find that there is an explicit message that comes from corporate South Africa and perhaps government that people may not get involved in side hustles?
Well, personally, I haven't really come across that per se. However, it just has been where it looks like, I might have a side hustle, and even though it has no direct, or it doesn't conflict with my role, the challenge that may come out of there is that if, for instance, there's restructures, and this is now what I've heard, if there's restructures, the possibility is that I might be the first person to be considered, look, you already have a job or you already have a side hustle. Therefore, when we are restructuring, we might look at you differently. That I've heard. But
People are afraid that they may be
that fear. Yeah.
They may be the ones to be cut out of the job opportunity because they've got a side hustle
100%,
there, right?
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
It's a very, very important observation there. I think it is a big reason why people would then be doubtful and fearful of even declaring that they've got a side hustle of some sort. But again, I think that we must be mindful of the fact that if somebody's got a side hustle and now and again you're using the company copy machine.
Yes.
And you're taking some of the papers to make your pamphlets for your side hustle. Sure, I understand why a company would have problems with your side hustle. But I'd love to hear more about this from those who've had that kind of discouragement from your formal employment. I mean, with us here, we in fact encouraged to have side hustles. We do moderations, we'll do voiceovers, we'll do different things. So there are industries where side hustles are encouraged. But I hear what Ngo is saying, and perhaps you could give us a call and give us a little more insight there. Thapelo, you were going to say?
Yes, I was going to say, actually, coming back to what Ngo said, because really the idea is that even with corporate South Africa, the idea is to make sure that employees are able to have enough to take care of themselves financially. They are able to have enough to, meet their means, right? And with the programs that we also run, most of the corporate companies actually invite us to come and help their employees to take care of their finances, to make the right financial decisions. So really, it's a very important point to really address from a corporate.
So give me a call if you work for a company and there is an explicit prohibition of having a side hustle. Give me a call and tell me why they say so. If you own a company and you discourage people from having a side hustle in your organization, please give me a call and tell me why you have that policy. Because I think Ngo is onto something there. If people are afraid, then of course people are not going to go down that route. But I also am sympathetic to companies that would say, listen, you're here, but you're using my phone for your side hustle. Yeah. You're here, you're using my photocopy machine for your side hustle. Instead of giving me a full, 8 hours worth of your time that I actually pay for, you're doing your side hustle. So I get that. But if there is indeed an issue, please give us a call. We'd love to hear that. Somebody says sometimes companies find people are exhausted for their day job because they have no energy and often get mentally or physically ill, says Sibs. Yeah, so I suppose there's another element where maybe companies are saying, listen, your energies are so focused on your side hustle and you don't really focus on what we're doing here. But a very important call anyway. I've got a lot of calls, but I want to introduce Motlatsi to the conversation. Motlatsi Letshela is running a successful side hustle, and he joins us now. Motlatsi, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you very much, Aubrey.
So you've got a successful side hustle. In fact, it's Thapelo that said, listen, we need to call Motlatsi because he's the man who is really an epitome of what we're talking about here. Tell us about your side hustle, Motlatsi.
A quick one. I'm into waste management and recycling.
Right.
And yes, sir. And how it came about, it was purely based on the observation of what's happening on the streets and what we're experiencing as communities, with that being all over the show.
Right.
So with hustlers, the classic quality that they or character that they have, they think out of the box, really. So when one looked at that, observed the waste, we then said, what is that we can do with the current situation in order for it to benefit us? Then that's when we realized that a lot can come out of waste. Actually, waste is no longer seen. It should not be perceived as waste, but as a commodity. And in the near future, it will be considered a precious commodity because as long as there's human being, there will always be waste. And it's up to us as to what is it that we're going to be doing with this particular commodity.
Yeah. So you've got a current formal job that you're doing?
Yes, sir.
And first of all, what of the company that you work for? Are they okay with the fact that you have a side hustle?
I'll tell you what how it came about actually between myself and my employer. It was as a result of me disclosing that this is what I have as a company and this is the duties that I'm engaging on. And please share with me your opinions. And they really did share their opinions with me. Fortunately, there were no conflicts, and they blessed me to go ahead and to continue with my hustle.
Okay.
Of which, on my side, I really identified with them and realized that I've got absolutely 8 hours for them, and I'm left with 16 hours, 8 hours to sleep, and then there's this 8 hours that's idling. What is that I can do with it? And I that's how I took off. And I've never looked back. I'm not interfering with my employer's time as an employee. So everything is going well.
When you say it's going well, are you employing some people now, or is it just a matter of you yourself going out there?
No, luckily, I through assistance of very dear friends that I have, and I'm able to employ, I think, about 8 guys.
Wow.
Who are there, and they are overseers of the project. And I've also employed a marketing manager for my day-to-day marketing and management of the company, who's basically my main man, my go-to guy.
Wow. Listen, I want to find out how it all started practically, Motlatsi, but we've got a few calls that I want to take, and really your story, I think, may be inspirational, may help motivate somebody out there who's looking for a side hustle and doesn't know how to start, how to just get into it. And I'm hoping that your story is going to assist us with that. Let's speak to Catherine in Cape Town. Catherine, good evening to you. Your thoughts, Catherine?
Good evening. Hi. I listen to your show very often, and this is my first time calling in.
Well, very welcome. Very welcome to you, Catherine. Go ahead.
I have a side hustle. So I have a full-time job in IT, and my side hustle is in the same thing that I do as my full-time job, so also IT. It was quite interesting. The side hustle came about quite organically. It was just through the contacts I made at my work. Some people contacted me outside of work and kind of said, do you think you could do this for us on the side as like a freelancing opportunity? And when that happened, I wasn't sure how my company would take it. But they technically, the only thing they have in their contract is you cannot be employed by another company while under the employment of us, but they are open to side hustles as long as you're open about it. I think the struggle I've had is that I don't want to lower the hours I'm working at my full-time job because I don't want to get less pay there. I want to get, more pay on top of the already pay I get.
Yes, it's an augmentation,
job. Yeah, so I think I started the side hustle about a year ago, and there I was doing my full-time job 40 hours a week, and then my side hustle I tried to stick to 4 hours a week, but it often went up to about 10 or 12, and I started to I could see it was affecting my full-time job, my energy, exactly what you were saying earlier, and I was starting to have to wake up later and go to bed later, and the balance was really, really difficult. So now what I've done is I've just moved to a more project-based side hustle where when I can take it on, when I see full-time work is a little bit easier going, I'll take on a project side hustle for a little while, and then I'll pause.
Are you finding that your side hustle augments your formal salary in the way that you envisaged? Is it good? Is it gooder? Is it goodest?
Yeah, it is good. I think it helps that I'm in IT freelancing because you can kind of you can set the pay and the hours, and then it's just, your client pays you that, and it's just up to you to get the work done. So at least it makes it a little bit easier. It's not like you're trying to sell product or something.
Yeah. Well, Catherine, thanks very much for your call. Much appreciated, yeah?
Sure, thank you.
Excellent. Catherine in Cape Town. Sizwe is in Little Falls. Sizwe, your thoughts?
Bro, Aubrey, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity. I listen to you a lot, and you like playing devil's advocate and all of that. So I'm going to throw the spanner right back at you right now. I mean, as inspiring as Motlatsi's story might be, and everyone else's, the lady you just spoke to right now, and I encourage a lot of people, our sisters and brothers, to take courage on that endeavor. But unfortunately, this is not necessarily a true reflection of the reality of a South African story on the ground, because a side hustle, for me, as an unemployed person, well, I got retrenched, by the way, is the fact that there's a lot more people that are unemployed. And a side hustle for me, in my position, means that a person that is earning a monthly salary is basically taking a position that I could occupy as an employed person, as an employed young South African. And for me, I'm not saying people shouldn't, do what they want to do in terms of a side hustle as we speak about. But for me, it takes away, because it's not the true South African story, bro, Aubrey, and it's frustrating because it takes away that opportunity for that person that is unemployed that could particularly, cover that space. I don't know if really my sense.
No, you don't make sense, Sizwe. I think what you're doing is that you are taking your specific dynamics, your specific individual dynamics, and you're superimposing them onto the whole country. It is possible to chew gum and run at the same time. And unfortunately, and I sympathize with the fact that you're unemployed, but we can have a conversation about somebody who's employed, who feels that they are not, they're not making ends meet with their current job, and then look for an opportunity for a side hustle that is going to augment their particular formal job by using their own talents, their own ability to see opportunities. What you are essentially saying is that if I see an opportunity in the market, because Sizwe and many others like him are unemployed, I shouldn't go for it because Sizwe and many others like him are not employed. And I think that that's unfair.
No, not necessarily. Well, I understand your point of view, but maybe if I can tell you the fact that what I've done out of my unemployment is that after I got my payout, I bought myself a car, paid it off cash with the money that I got from the retrenchment. And I registered for Uber, I registered for Bolt, and I've registered for Takealot. So am I taking someone else's job?
But how is somebody that has...
Where is my side hustle in that?
You don't have a side hustle, Sizwe, because you're not employed. Right? And this conversation is not about Sizwe. It's about people who have a job and are looking for a side hustle. So this is not a conversation about you. And unfortunately, it is, that's just the reality. We are able to talk about other things that are of a demographic that doesn't include you. So the fact of the matter is that if you've already started a business, that's great. If somebody were to call me now and say, we shouldn't be speaking to Sizwe because he's taken somebody else's opportunity by starting the business that he started. In fact, what we should be doing is we should be encouraging you. We should be saying, well done, Sizwe, more of you. But we are talking specifically right now about people who have formal employment, who are looking for a side hustle. It is a reality that is out there in South Africa, and I think we're allowed to talk about it.
I'm not saying we shouldn't talk about it, perhaps, respectively. I'm not saying we shouldn't talk about it. But what I'm saying is that if you were to look at the demographics of South Africa...
What are you asking us to do? What are you asking us to do right now?
All I'm saying is that considering the state of our country, I think there might be... I'm not saying we should ignore the fact that people that are employed shouldn't have a side hustle. I'm not saying that.
Because that's what we're talking about.
Well, I'm part of the conversation, am I not?
No, what you're trying to say to us is that we shouldn't be talking about that aspect because you've got certain circumstances. The fact of the matter is that there are people that have jobs whose salary is just not enough. And there is an option out there to have a side hustle. And that's what we're talking about. What you're doing is derailing the conversation because of your circumstances. And you're saying to us that we should be considering your circumstances in this particular situation when that's not the topic. The topic is side hustles. So when we are having a conversation on entrepreneurship, Sizwe is very, very welcome to contribute. But what you are saying is that we can't have this conversation because you and many others in South Africa have a particular experience. Well, what about those people who have the experience about which we are talking today?
I suppose you've made your point.
Caesar, thank you very much for your call. Much appreciated. I don't know where Caesar is trying to go, but my sense is that he's got serious circumstances that need a conversation. But that's not the conversation we're having right now. What we're having as a conversation right now is the issue of the side hustle, right? We can chew gum and run at the same time. I want to take a quick break. When I come back, we continue with Motlatsi Letshela about his side hustle, how it started, and maybe in that process you can learn something to help you start your side hustle, if you are that way inclined. Nobody's forcing you to start a side hustle, by the way. Yeah? Please give us a call. We'd like to talk to you on 011-883-0702. If you're in Cape Town, the number is 021-446-0567.
702
on 92.7 and 106 FM.
Streaming on 702.co.za.
The 702 app.
And on DSTV channel 856.
The time is 14 minutes to 9 o'clock, and we're talking side hustles with Thapelo Tsiu, Senior Manager for Financial Education at Nedbank. And my guest is Motlatsi Letshela, who managed to run a successful side hustle. And we hear on how he managed to succeed in his venture. Motlatsi, when you started, what were the biggest challenges when you started your side hustle?
It was really transport because of the industry that I'm operating in. However, I went to the financiers and requested assistance, and I was provided with the best that they could, and I brought in a little bit from my pocket, and then there we go. Everything was started from then on. And however, there are three main components in the operation.
Yeah,
it's the product, the demand, and the supply. If we have those, you're good to go. Unfortunately, with me or with my operation being in waste, I happen to have a demand in terms of clients, and believe me, I never thought one day I'll say I've run out of stock, which is waste. And I ran out of stock.
You ran out of stock, and that was waste. Because I was interested to find out what is the product in your business.
So the product in my business is your everyday waste that you see on the streets.
Yes,
it's nothing specific, nothing special. Any because right now my focus is the collection of bottles to supply to my clients that manufactures bottles for various purposes. So there's a whole lot of demand from that point of view. So I can tell you now, it's really not that difficult to start. However, if you've got your ducks in a row, you are good to go. And especially with side hustles, we are small businesses that does not have to start big. You can start with the little that you have, with the small resources that you have, be it a desk, be it a laptop, or a baki, that you can start. As long as you take that first step, you are good to go.
How does the Nedbank educational process assist somebody like Motlatsi, Thapelo?
So first, Motlatsi is still working, and Motlatsi now is venturing into a side hustle, which then is a business. So first and foremost, one of some of the programs we provide, we cover the importance of separating your personal affairs from your business affairs, because that's where the temptation starts. Remember, you're still working, and you can easily get those people
take from the change there to pay for your transport.
Yeah. So I think discipline from the very get-go, I think that is the real best, because as you continue, the habit of you just using just that one personal account, and you are mixing everything, people pay you into it, and then it becomes a norm over time. That's where some people have the challenge of getting away from there, to say, look, you need to separate these two people so that you can now run this one as a business, and everything goes in there and everything. And the challenge we've had, and just not to go quite a long time, is that when it comes to that time where you need to expand your business, for instance, say, or now to Motlatsi's point, your side hustle has become successful, you want another baki. Now we then ask for bank statements, for your business, and bank statements for, say you happen to have a business account, but because of that lack of discipline and you are busy mixing, I print out the bank statement of yours and have a look, and then I start seeing personal items coming out of the business account, and now immediately I can already start to see, we're having a challenge here. You see, we are not separating the two. So I think at the moment, I think that would be the first thing to be cognizant of.
So I imagine yours is to try and formalize the business end of the side hustle so that it becomes credit worthy, as it were?
I would say that, but look, in the very beginning, like we're talking starting small, right?
Yeah.
Yes, you don't want to get to a point where now you go out of your way to even open an account where maybe depending on how the fee structure of that account is structured, now the charges are even much more than what you are getting. You're still going to look for clients, like Motlatsi mentioned. You still go look for clients. You still need to make sure there's a demand for what you're looking for. Your supply, where you're getting the supply from, is enough to be able to. So you need to get that first. And then you'll start to see as you continue. I think that will be able to sort of guide us. And there'll probably be a time where we'll see, look, now let me now formalize and really go and set it up properly and everything. But get the groundwork going first.
I do want to find out how Motlatsi dealt with those issues where the discipline aspect has to play a big role in the success of your side hustle. But before we go back to Motlatsi, let's hear what Kulula in Paulshof has to say. Kulula, hi.
Hi, Aubrey. Nice to the guest today. Thank you very much, guys, for the topic.
Appreciate it, man. Go ahead.
Such a very valid one. No, look, man, I also, in a situation in the context where my income is not enough and I'm looking to start a side hustle, and I had an opportunity to start in about Jan, but I didn't have the capital, saved up the capital, but the opportunity has now elapsed. So I'm now just trying to find out, if, I don't know if there are a space whereby you can find out what opportunities are out there if one has got a little bit of capital saved up to go into. Because I think that's where I am now. I'm ready to pull the trigger, but the idea is elapsed, and unfortunately another person has rented the space that I wanted to buy. So now I'm back to square one. Is there
at some point you didn't have the capital, but you had the idea. Now you have the capital, but your idea has now lapsed, as it were.
Absolutely.
Kulula, great question, man, and I suppose it's got something to do with the ability to identify opportunities where you're at. But I'm not the guy to speak about that. Let me ask Motlatsi, who's been in that situation, to help us out with that. But listen very carefully, and perhaps this would be a good opportunity to meet with the guys at Nedbank and just have a conversation about, listen, this is where I want to go. This is the kind of interests that I have. This is what I think a business opportunity is. How do I go about it? So please listen for the contact details for Thapelo just at the end of this conversation. Yeah?
Will do, thanks.
All right, Kulula in Paul's off. Motlatsi, I suppose you found yourself in that situation at some point where your salary wasn't enough and you perhaps were entertaining the idea of a side hustle, but you weren't as clear as you are now that you are in it, right? What gave you clarity? What was the thing that said, okay, this is where I'm going? To use Kulula's term, this is where I'm pulling the trigger. This is where I'm going to make the commitment to get in. How do you find that? I think that's something that a lot of people need to deal with when they're looking for a side hustle, yeah?
Yes, sir. I'll tell you what, most of us, we've got beautiful ideas. The only challenge that we are faced with is, like I said earlier, taking that first step. And in my case, when I was pulling the trigger, just like Kulula was saying, I had to assemble experts in terms of finance, and I had to approach even the banks, even Nedbank, to say, guys, this is the idea that I have in mind. Can you please read into this and give me your opinion?
Yeah.
And they were happy to assist, and they were happy to say to me, brother, you've got something big going on. And for the next 6-7 years, I couldn't look back, and I've been in the business ever since, and I'm still employed, and my operation in terms of side hustling is still kicking.
Talk to me about the discipline factor that we were talking about at the moment, where you can see that there's turnover. There's some money coming in as a result of the operations of the side hustle. And then suddenly the alternator of the car, the family car, breaks down. You know what I mean? Or something needs to be... But there's no money in terms of the budget of the home. But there's 500 Rand in this account, in this business account. How do you handle the discipline factor when that reality presents itself? How do you deal with that?
Fortunately, like I say, I had to assemble the experts in terms of advices and so forth. So they were able to sit me down and to say, Mr. Letshela, you are now going for side hustling. You must also separate yourself from the business. So your financial, personal finances must stay away from the business. So is the business. And I've got an accountant who also assist me in terms of the management. The fees are not that bad really, and I've got the advisors that I sit down with, and I've got the banker that I sit down with. So I perceive my investment or my business just like any other corporate out there. So
what you're saying to us is that invest in talking to experts.
Yes, please.
Because I suppose sometimes we look down even on our own ventures, our own side hustles. This thing is too small for me to be going to Nedbank to go and speak to Thapelo there. I mean, this thing's too small. I'm selling makuinya here. And you're saying go and speak to the experts.
Yes, 100%.
See, because I know that with my side hustle, that was the issue. That I was afraid to speak to people because I thought, this thing is too small. I'm wasting people's time. And until somebody said to me, hey man, even the big ones started small.
Yeah.
Yes.
But they became big because they were willing to be teachable. And you are only teachable if you are willing to humble yourself and get the experts to tell you about this kind of thing. Motlatsi?
Yes, you are spot on. Remember, as an individual, the idea is one. But as soon as you bring someone else, then you suddenly have two ideas to one.
Sure.
So benefits is doubled already.
Yeah, no, I've heard that. People call that synergy. Eh? When 1 + 1 is equal to 3. Eh?
Yes. So Yeah, so if one is to look at it in that perspective, then that person is good to go. You are destined for greater heights.
Ebon, are you making money?
Yes.
Like it. I like it. Unequivocal yes.
Oh, yeah.
And are you finding that your energies are being? Do you find yourself maybe too tired sometimes, even for your family or even for the people that work for you, your colleagues at your formal job? Does that factor in sometimes?
You say
you heard me.
I'm boasting.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, no. When you do something that you love, you don't get to see that you're actually working. That is me. I don't see myself as working. I just see myself having fun. So I'm constantly having fun. If I was considering myself as working, chances are I would be sleeping by now.
Motlatsi, I want to congratulate you, my brother, for what you're doing. And the big lesson here for me is that we need to speak to the experts, because we're not always experts, right?
Yes.
My final question to you is, what do you say? Is this something that we should all be doing, looking for a side hustle, if we are employed?
Yes, let us do that and also share with others, because there's a lot that can benefit all of us. The cake is too big for one to not to share.
Motlatsi Letshela is a machereza. You know, these guys that go around, and he's now employing people. He's employing 8 people, and they are refuse collectors, and he's making money. Yeah? How do we get in touch with you? And, for example, Kululi?
Okay, yes.
Yeah? Who wants to have a conversation about how to identify certain opportunities. He wants to pull the trigger, as it were. How do they get in touch with you to start that conversation?
Okay, so thank you so much, Aubrey. We can be reached at Financial Wellness at nedbank.co.za.
Do you encourage that thing, though, for people like Kulula who want to pull the trigger?
Yes, we actually do.
To come and talk to you.
Yes, absolutely. And the way our relationship banking has been structured, we have got bankers that are actually trained now to really listen to our clients, to actually understand exactly what their short-term goals are, what is it that they can do, and then take them there. But then also from a financial literacy perspective, we run all those kinds of topics where we really address those kinds of things. So absolutely, he's more than welcome to
give me that number again.
It's Financial Wellness at nedbank.co.za.
It's not a number. Thapelo Tsiu, Senior Manager for Financial Education at Nedbank. Thank you very much.